The story begins as Alec and Zoe Morrison, a married couple, have been trying for years to have a baby, but nothing works. Doctors run blood tests and every other check, yet the results always come back normal. With no clear explanation, their doctor suggests Zoe may be under too much stress and advises her to slow down, believing the pressure could be affecting her. It doesn't help. Their hope fades, and when they consider in vitro fertilization, the cost is impossible for them. Then something unusual happens. While Zoe is at the hospital, a brochure is quietly left near her. At home, she realizes it's for a nearby foster home. To Zoe, it feels like a sign, and she begins to think adoption is meant for them. Alec is against it at first. He isn't ready to raise someone else's child. But Zoe keeps pushing until he finally agrees to at least explore the option. A few days later, they visit the foster home together. They meet Mrs. Lang, the caretaker, who explains that adoption has multiple steps and takes time, starting with paperwork. Zoe begins a form, but one question cuts deep: whether they already have children. She hesitates, shaken, and only says that after an accident, things haven't been the same. Without explaining further, Mrs. Lang tells them to be patient because the process moves slowly. During the tour, Zoe spots a young boy in unusual clothes. He smiles at her, and she smiles back for a moment. Mrs. Lang describes the children's daily routines and asks what the couple does. Alex says he runs a toy company inherited from his father. Zoe says she owns a small bookstore focused on children's books. On the way home, Alec admits the visit wasn't as bad as he expected, though Zoe can tell he's still uncomfortable. Back home, Zoe sees a poster reading "Living the Dream," and it feels mocking. Then the doorbell rings. She opens the door and freezes. The same boy is standing there dressed in a suit. He introduces himself as Eli and announces that he is now their son. He hands Zoe papers and claims the adoption is already completed. Zoe is stunned. There's no adult with him, no explanation, yet she lets him in out of shock. She tries calling the adoption agency, but the number doesn't work. Eli asks for tea, so she gives him milk instead. Then he asks her to turn on CNN instead of cartoons, and Zoe realizes how mature he is. Uneasy, she calls Alec home. By the time he arrives, Eli is asleep, and Zoe explains everything. Since they still can't reach anyone, they decide to drive back to the foster home with Eli. On the drive, Eli asks Alec about rising prices and how his business is doing, like an adult. At the orphanage, Mrs. Lang's assistant says Mrs. Lang was rushed to the hospital after a sudden medical emergency. The assistant checks Eli's documents and says they appear to be in order, but insists real answers can only come from Mrs. Lang. Until then, Alec and Zoe can only wait. With no other option, Alec and Zoe are forced to take Eli home with them. On the drive back, Alec is tense and quiet, drowning in his thoughts. Sensing it, Eli starts singing to lighten the mood, and Zoe can't help smiling. She realizes she doesn't feel uncomfortable around him at all. His presence feels strangely natural. That night, Zoe opens Eli's small suitcase and is stunned to find only neatly folded suits and ties, arranged with care. For a 7-year-old, he looks less like a child and more like a tiny 1950s salesman. Even his speech is formal. After the bathroom, he complains about the poor quality of teeth-whitening products, leaving Zoe even more baffled. Eli wanders into her small library and, for bedtime, casually chooses War and Peace and asks her to read it. Zoe gently puts it aside and picks a simple children's story instead, one she wrote herself. When she gets up to leave, Eli asks her to sleep beside him, so Zoe lays a mattress on the floor and stays the night. By morning, Alec has already left for work, and Zoe can tell the pressure is crushing him. New high-tech toys have flooded the market, and no one wants his traditional products anymore. He took heavy loans to stock up, and now the company is barely surviving. Paying employees has become difficult, and Tom confronts him over late wages. Alec tries to reassure him that things will improve, even though he has no clear plan. Back home, Eli surprises Zoe by making her breakfast. She's genuinely impressed. Wanting something normal, she suggests shopping for casual clothes, but Eli refuses, calmly insisting a man should always be well-dressed. Zoe laughs, finding his seriousness oddly charming, and when Eli starts calling her Mom, Zoe is startled by how much she likes hearing it. Eli soon becomes curious about a locked room. Zoe tells him it's a bedroom and no one is allowed inside, for now. He keeps pressing, but she avoids the truth and promises she'll explain someday. During a walk in the park, a homeless man approaches. Zoe tries to guide Eli away, but the man talks directly to Eli about fairies, then suddenly turns to Zoe and says a date out loud, May 15th, 2007. Zoe freezes, shaken that a stranger could know that day. The man only shrugs, saying he's lived there for years and has watched families come and go, leaving the meaning hanging. Later, Zoe takes Eli to her bookstore and introduces him to her mother. Eli's polite manners immediately impress her, but the calm breaks when Alec calls in panic. The factory is falling apart. Zoe and Eli rush over to find workers leaving because they still haven't been paid. Only Tom stays behind. Alec admits he can't compete with big corporations anymore, and debt is swallowing the business. He says his father would be heartbroken to see what the company has become. Then Eli casually points out that one of the helicopter toys only moves up and down, and that the design is flawed. Alec ignores him, too overwhelmed to take advice, especially from a child. Zoe's shock turns into fury when she learns Alec has even mortgaged their house. Hurt and furious, she storms out and goes home. That night, Zoe tries to talk to Eli about school, but he steers the conversation somewhere deeper. He asks if there's still love between her and Alec, saying sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger, someone you can be honest with. Zoe admits he might be right. She confesses that things with Alec haven't been good for a long time and that they barely spend real time together anymore. Eli listens quietly, thinking. The next day, Zoe takes Eli to school. He stands out instantly, completely unfazed. But during recess, instead of playing, Eli takes a taxi and heads straight to the toy factory. When Alec sees him walk in, he's stunned. Eli starts questioning him about the company, the finances, and rising costs, and the way he speaks makes Alec forget, for a moment, that he's talking to a child. Alec draws a hard line with Eli. Don't call him Dad. Use Alec. Back home, Zoe is ready to scold Eli for slipping off to the factory, but the doorbell interrupts. A delivery boy arrives with takeout Eli secretly ordered to fix the mood. It works. They eat together, the tension loosens, and Alec speaks to Eli more warmly. Alec apologizes to Zoe and swears he'll fix things somehow. Then Zoe spots Eli with a teddy bear and goes pale. Eli admits he took it from the locked bedroom. Zoe snatches it away and warns him, never go in there again. After midnight, Eli slips out to the park. Mr. Potts is asleep on a bench. Eli wakes him, and Potts jolts up, nearly having a heart attack as he demands where Eli has been. Eli asks if things are going well. Potts says they could be better. Eli tries cheering him up. At least Potts doesn't have to go to school. Asked about his new parents, Eli says they're kind people. The conversation feels like two people picking up where they left off. The next morning, Alec is confronted by John Burns, an investor. Burns says the recession makes old-fashioned toys too risky and demands answers on the product line. Alec pleads, even bringing up their friendship, but Burns separates friendship from business and gives him a short deadline. Come up with a strong new idea or sell the company. Shaken, Alec visits his father's grave and finds Mr. Potts nearby. Potts points out roses growing beneath an old, forgotten grave. Beauty in the unlikeliest place. Alec finally gets it. Hope can still grow where everything feels finished. Later, Alec and Zoe sit with friends and speak honestly. They remember being inseparable once, deeply in love, then admit how distance has swallowed that closeness. Trying to change course, Alec visits Zoe's shop and suggests they go out together as a family. Zoe brightens, saying Eli would love it, and Alec starts spending more time with him. At the office, Eli quietly tweaks the helicopter model Alec ignored. To Alec's shock, it finally works as intended. Eli notices a Legoland poster. Alec admits he's always wanted to go, but never made time. He shows Eli shelves of old wooden toys. Once hits, now ignored because everyone wants electronics. Eli bluntly says electronic toys are useless and break too easily, and Alec can't help agreeing. Eli asks again for a family day, but Alec stalls, claiming work. Eli doesn't argue. Before he leaves, Alec gives him a Russian doll. The very next day, Eli brings Zoe to Alec's office and refuses to accept later. Alec gives in and gets in the car. In the back seat, Eli calls out GPS coordinates, promising something inspirational and saying Alec needs to understand his customers. They drive blind until they arrive and freeze. Eli has brought them to Legoland, Alec's dream. Eli pushes Alec onto the rides. Alec hesitates, not wanting to show excitement, but once he starts, he can't stop, laughing, playing, finally letting joy in. They spend the day like kids. When Eli earns a toy driving license after the toy car ride, Alec and Zoe insist on getting one too, grinning like children. For a few hours, debt and tension disappear. That night, Eli asks for a story, and Alec reads with exaggerated voices. After Eli falls asleep, Alec talks to Zoe again, trying to make things right, and for the first time it feels like they're healing. Eli is happy to see it. In the morning, they wake to piano music and rush downstairs to find Eli calmly playing. Zoe suddenly freezes and blurts out that for a second she thought Eli might be her own son. Eli looks confused and asks, "Which son?" And Zoe realizes they can't keep dodging the truth. She and Alec finally tell him what they've buried for years. Before Eli, they had a son, Samuel, whom they loved deeply. Samuel died in an accident. That's what Zoe hinted at back at the foster home. The locked, forbidden bedroom belonged to Samuel, and they never had the strength to enter it again, which is why they were desperate to keep Eli away. They take Eli to Samuel's grave. Standing there after so long, Alec finally breaks. He cries openly and admits that since Samuel's death, there's been a hollow in him he's convinced can never be filled. Yet on the drive home, both Alec and Zoe feel lighter, like they needed that moment more than they knew. Zoe softly suggests they finally clear out Samuel's room. Alec agrees. That night, Alec follows glowing fireflies into the park and finds Mr. Potts. Potts calls them the same fairies he's always talked about. Alec properly introduces himself and they talk about life, about toys, about grief. Potts says talking to a stranger doesn't always fix anything, but it can still comfort you. When religion comes up, Alec admits he can't believe in a God who would take a child. Potts answers that humans rarely live in the present. We're usually trapped in the past or terrified of the future. The words stay with Alec. At dinner, with Diane joining them, Eli asks if they've met Mr. Potts, the man who lives in the garden. Alec jokes that he's a strange fellow and no one knows what goes on in his mind. Then Alec's eyes land on the Russian dolls, and suddenly, inspiration hits. He calls Eli a genius, and Eli nods like he already knew. The next day, Alec starts sketching new toy ideas at the office, showing each one to Eli. Eli isn't impressed at first, and that only drives Alec harder. He keeps refining and reworking the designs until finally, Eli gives a thumbs up and production moves forward. After a few calls, Alec and Eli are invited to present to an elderly panel, with Tom stepping in to support them. Instead of speaking himself, Alec shocks everyone by letting Eli lead. The panel members stare, stunned, as a child stands before them. Tom arrives carrying the new product, a mystery box holding 5 different toys. Eli explains the concept. Each box contains any 5 toys, randomly selected. When Burns asks what's inside, Eli calmly says they'll have to buy it to find out. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a mystery. Someone argues customers won't know what they're getting, and Eli makes it clear that's the point. A Japanese businessman immediately places a large order, and soon others follow. Everyone wants the mystery box. Alec, Eli, and Tom can barely contain their joy. They rush home and share the news with Zoe. In that moment, Alec finally tells Eli he can call him Dad, and Zoe is overwhelmed with happiness. That night, Eli tells Mr. Potts the good news. Potts smiles and says it's wonderful, but reminds Eli there's still one final thing left to do. The next day is Christmas Eve, and at Eli's request, Alec and Zoe invite Mr. Potts to dinner. Christmas comes, and the mystery box becomes a massive hit, selling out everywhere. The best part is Alec already has the toys, he only needs to package them. That evening, Mr. Potts arrives. Alec offers him a shower, and afterward, Potts sits at their table looking like a gentleman. The house is warm, full, alive again. As Potts prepares to leave, Zoe offers him money. He refuses at first, but she insists gently, saying he must have once been someone's beloved son too. And tonight, as a mother, she wants to help. Potts quietly accepts. Before bed, Eli asks Zoe if she believes in angels. He says it's comforting to think someone out there is always watching over you. Zoe doesn't give a clear answer. Her mind is elsewhere. Soon after, she goes to Alec with his Christmas gift, a box holding a pregnancy test. Zoe is pregnant. Alec is overwhelmed with joy, and for the first time in years, it feels like their lives are finally coming back together. On Christmas morning, they plan to tell Eli about the baby, but before they can, Jane calls. Mrs. Lang is recovering and urgently wants to talk. Jane reveals something terrifying. After checking the records again, there was never a child named Eli at the foster home. Even stranger, the photo on the adoption form has vanished. Alec rushes to Eli's room, but he's gone. All that remains is an envelope. Zoe grabs Eli's toy license, desperate for answers, and finds his photo missing there too. In that moment, everything clicks. Zoe finally understands why Eli asked about angels the night before. The truth becomes impossible to ignore. Eli and even Mr. Potts were never ordinary. They were angels sent to heal what grief had broken. Shaking, Zoe opens the letter Eli left behind. He thanks them for the love they gave him, wishes them happiness, and leaves one final message. Their baby will be a girl. In the closing moments, we see Eli again, moving on to another family, ready to bring hope into a new home. And the story ends on a quiet, heartfelt note.